Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me once again for Get Your Money Right with Yvonne, and I'm Yvonne. How's it going? I want to get this started again by asking you to think about how you're feeling. How has your week been going? Your day going? How's your morning? Just how are you feeling right now? Because, everyone has challenges and everything's not perfect, and that's okay. It does not have to be perfect. Just think about yourself, think about your family, think about your work, and just how you can just kind of bring that all together and have everything be okay, right? And as I've said before, at some point, I promise, we're going to have this so we can have this two-way conversation. I will share, then I will hear from you, and we'll just kind of just see how everybody's doing. Hear it, see it, talk it through, and see what we can do to assist you. So just, it's coming, I promise. So, how's my week been going? Pretty well. I can't really complain. Not that anybody would care, as I love to say, but it's all right, because you're juggling, just trying to keep the plates up in the air, your bills, your obligations, and your retirement. You got to take care of all of them. One is no more important than the other, and we just have to deal with all of them, right? So, doing okay here, and my husband kind of laughs at me because at night I start stressing. Okay, I've got X that I owe on my student loans, and I have a plan to get that all paid off, and that's a good thing. And I'm going to stop right there because, well, how did I put my plan together? And you just have to really think through what you want, how you're going to get there, and what that's going to look like. So I had the option of looking for another job or just some sort of a side hustle. And I looked into those possibilities. And then, as I've said before, I decided to take a small pension. Trust me, it's small, but helpful, useful. I'm going to be taking that to help pay down my student loans. And I have a really aggressive plan to get that taken care of. So, you have to live, okay? You can't take all of your money and pay your bills. You might want to, but you have to. This is it. This is our one life, right? And we need to be able to enjoy our time on this earth. And I've had friends leave us in the last few years, and just some of them much too young. Others lived. They lived their lives. Okay, it was a life well lived and good for them, but they're no longer with us. And you just have to think, you got to take care of yourself, got to take care of your obligations, yes, but you got to enjoy your life. You've got to enjoy this limited amount of time that we are given on this earth, right? So just think about those sorts of things. But yeah, I'm going to be, everything is coming together now, okay? And it won't be until next month when my plan will fully be realized. And I'll be using that pension to pay down my student loans. And I've got that, a rather sizable student loan that I'm paying off, but I also need to take care of my retirement. So I'm, again, that balancing act, juggling and trying not to spill everything all over everywhere. But you do the best you can. And really and truly, that is all you can do. Just the best that you can. And you can't stick your head in the sand because, tick, 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 each day our life is moving on, and you can't wait for later. You gotta take care of some things now, right? And as I told you before, one of the things I like to do is read stories about money, whether it be Social Security, whether it be about 401k, whatever it is, I just kind of like to read them. And here's why. I I have successful friends. I have successful family members, right? I can't compare myself to them because they are the best versions of themselves that can ever be. I cannot be them and I cannot compare myself to them. All I can do is live the life that I have right now and just do the best I can. But you have to everything, you got to bring it to the fore. You have to think it through, right? How am I going to make this work? And I saw something, and what's really odd is I saw this stuck with me, but then a few days after I read this, something else, I think it was one of my connections on LinkedIn said something very similar. So then it was like ding, 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 ding. Listen to this, okay? I'm just going to read it to you because I thought, wow, this is so interesting. It is so powerful. This particular sentence is attributed to a gentleman by the name of Eric Thomas. Now, it doesn't give any other context about what Mr. Thomas was talking about, where this was from, when it was written. So I'm just going to share with you what it says, and let's just kind of go from there, okay? It says, you cannot afford to live in potential for the rest of your life. At some point, you have to unleash the potential and make your move. And it struck me because you can't live in the what if. You can't live in the I should have done things differently. You can't live in the maybe tomorrow I'll get this done. No, 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 no. You've got now to deal with. You can't live in potential. Potentially putting money away for your retirement. You can't. You have to start somewhere. If you haven't already done this, please, 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 please go to your HR department and figure out, well, a couple of things. First of all, how to get your 401k started. Get any money into it that you possibly can. And the other thing I'd like for you to try to do is see, does your employer offer some sort of a match? Okay? That it's leaving money on the table, right? If you're not doing that, and please take care of that sooner rather than later. Once you get past 50 and you're realizing that your working life is growing shorter, and what are you going to do? I've talked to so many of us over 50 who, some of them are just now coming to the realization that the world doesn't really necessarily look at you first for new employment opportunities, advancement within your organization. They just don't. I find that super unfortunate for not only us that want those jobs, but for the organization. Because you don't know what somebody can bring to the table unless you invite them in, right? We all look at things a little bit differently, and it is so helpful to have a well-rounded source of information. You can't just look at what you see, okay? You need to include the voices of others, because I have learned so much from people that I may have disagreed with. You would think, ooh, that sounds odd. No, 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 not really. Because it forced me to look at my position on an issue differently. Doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to change it, but I need to understand how other people think, how other people feel, and how all of that can come together and help us to understand one another, understand where we're coming from, where we're going, just to see the world in a new light. That it's super helpful to be able to do that. I think that way, and just think about it for yourself. This is an individual sport, okay? This thing called life. Yeah, we're living it from our understanding, but we're in a world with a whole lot of other people. And they may have some really valuable things to say to us. and just listen and just allow that to inform your thought process. Sometimes, I'll be talking to some people and they're coming at it from their own perspective, and that's great. That's where we start. But think through how others might be viewing it. And maybe it's just me and my organizational leadership background, I don't know. But how are we all approaching, everyday challenges? And I I think it's super helpful to hear from others, to hear other stories, to know that we're not lacking just because we're not doing this in a set order. Okay? That's not what that means. That just means we're doing it differently, and that is okay. Just, keep all of that in mind. We'll be talking about that over the next however long we're together. I love just so you folks know, I love chatting with you. I'm going to love it even more when I get to hear from you. And we're going to keep doing this together for as long as we possibly can. I love it. I love sharing with you. I want you to share with me. This is going to be great. Okay? And I'm going to wind this up because the whole idea is these short clips where we'll just talk and just want you to think differently and just know that you're okay. We're okay. We don't have to do this like others. We just have to do this like ourselves. And just know that it is super important that you are putting money away toward your retirement. Because when I hear people say, I'm going to die at my desk, my work desk, it's like, no, please stop saying that. Let's work on a way to help you. Okay? So I'm going to stop there because we got lots of time and lots of different things to talk about. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me for Get Your Money Right with Yvonne. I have a good time chatting with you, and let's keep it going. Keep the conversation going, okay? Have a great day. I'm thankful for you, and talk to you next time, okay? Bye-bye.